There we go. Hello, everybody. I am super excited to be here. I'm here with Jessica Miles. Hi,
Hi, how
how
are
are
you?
you?
Good.
We had a little bit of a wild time trying to get the technical difficulties ironed out, but we got it in the end, which is
Yay.
amazing. Um, I really wanted to hop in and have a conversation about the image competition and how you have, like last year, you had this incredible documentary image that you won in that subcategory with. And I kind of want to dissect it. But
Okay.
before we get into all of that, I'd love for you to give us an introduction about yourself and tell us how you got here.
Oh gosh. Well, I'm Jessica Miles. I'm here I live in Bradenton, Florida, and I actually was a labor and delivery nurse for 16 years and kind of fell into birth photography. My little sister went through some fertility struggles and finally, after like 7 years of trying, got pregnant with my niece, which almost 11 years ago, and she's also a nurse, asked me to document her birth. I had always had an interest in photography. I did some like family stuff, but I really wasn't like a professional photographer. I was a nurse and I just kind of did it on the side or whatnot. And I still didn't really know much what I was doing, but she was like, I want pictures. And I was like, okay. So I documented her delivery. And again, like I said, it's almost been 11 years since I've been documenting births now. And it literally snowballed from there because then every nurse and doctor and anesthesia's wife, everybody I work with at the hospital all wanted their births documented. So now I do have kind of the monopoly on my local hospital and I am their birth photographer. So I do primarily photograph a lot of hospital births because that's where I have all the OBs that I worked with in the hospital all refer me to their patients.
Mhm.
I do home births as well. I love to do home birth. It's not something that's widely done where I live. Unfortunately, I wish it was, and I would love to get into it more. I did just pair up with a doula group that that found my work and asked if they could refer me to their clients, and so I'm like, yes, please, I'd love to get some more home births. If you do look, a lot of my work is a lot in the OR, but because of my nursing background, I am the only one that they will let in the OR.
Mhm.
So I might
That's
be
so
getting off
good.
topic. I tend to
No.
ramble. I might be getting off topic. So anyway, yeah, so that's how I kind of got into doing birth photography, and I do some other photography as well. I had battled some health issues which also kind of made me resign from nursing, and so I do some self-portrait photography. And then once being a birth photographer, it's like once you connect with that family, and a lot of people I already, well, before now, I'm getting a lot of the people that I initially started photographing I knew from working at the hospital. Then they wanted me to photograph everything, family, weddings, and I was like kind of just doing everything. And now I'm kind of wanting to, I'll still do my families because they've been with me for like 11 years.
Mm.
um but I really want to just, this year I'm like, okay, I want to focus on birth and my more creative stuff that I do.
Yeah,
So
you just had an image, one of your self-portraits. It's going up in an exhibition, is that right?
I am going to Washington, D.C. to speak with Congress. So
Ah.
for the rare artist competition, and it's for people with rare disorders or illnesses. There was a competition. I'm the only photographer that won. Everyone else was a painter.
Mhm.
I submitted a self portrait, and I had to submit like an artist statement to match the portrait that I did.
Mhm.
And I was the one of, they chose 10, and I was one of 10 of the award 2023 awardees. So I will be going to Washington, DC on February 24th to the 29th for Rare Disease Week, and speaking with
Congratulations.
the NIH, FDA,
Mhm.
Congress. I will be advocating with different legislators for my disorder and other rare illnesses, and my image, which is going to be like the size of a wall, will be up on Capitol Hill for the next year. So
Amazing.
it's like insane. It's, it's super important to me because I absolutely um adore like birth and winning the awards and my publications and stuff. This is different, and this is
Mhm.
close to my heart because um this is to me, education is so important.
Mhm.
And so it's important for me to like educate and advocate and everything, and even the same way like with birth, like
Yeah.
advocating and education and all that stuff, being a nurse, and then being a patient for the last since, well, I was diagnosed in 2016. So yeah, so being a patient is just super important. So
Mm.
it's pretty surreal. I'm getting ready to start doing, I have to do like all these advocation like classes and stuff, like with an advocate to teach me how to speak with Congress and all that stuff. So it's
That's so
exciting.
amazing. Yeah.
I
I
know,
mean,
super
really,
excited.
I think that, at heart, I think most birth photographers are advocates,
Absolutely.
and I think when we find that little sort of joy outside of birth, it kind of gives us that
Mhm.
extra breath, beneath our
Yeah.
wings. Um, Last year, my youngest boy got diagnosed with ASD. And I
Mm.
was just pulling out my phone and kind of like trying to record his cute little quirks.
Yeah.
Um, as like proof because I felt like I was being gaslit. Like he's
Uh-huh.
normal. And I was like, he's very different.
Right.
And what I ended up doing is like pulling out my professional camera and like documenting him in such a beautiful and artistic way.
Yeah.
And that was that kind of, extra, not so much to for proof, but now more of a look at this little quirk and I want to
Yeah.
encapsulate it and remember it forever.
Yeah. And that's, well, two things on that is I've done the same. And I've taken pictures of myself. I'm like, look, this is what's happening. Like here, I'm taking a picture. Like this is this, or whatever before, the diagnoses and all that stuff. And this is what's going on. Or I take videos and pictures, and um, but also when you said capturing it, that's what started me doing my self portraits, because first I wanted to do self portraits. I documented myself because I have a colostomy bag on my belly.
Mhm.
So I really was like important for me to document myself without one. And I wanted to do some pretty pictures of myself, like with my belly, what it looked like before, because it's never going to look like that again. It's never not going to have a bag on it,
Mhm.
and and then it got to, like, I just recently this past year had my 16th surgery in 6
Wow.
years. So it's been a lot of ups and downs, and so it's been a really, and I've people have said heard me say this and seen it me write it. It's been a powerful way to document my progress, but also setbacks in like kind of like a cathartic way. And so
Mhm.
I look back, but also it serves as proof. Like honestly, like when I look at the timeline and a doctor, if I see a new doctor and they're like, okay, like I have to, I'm sure you do the same with your, you said was it your son
Yeah, yeah.
or daughter? Okay, your
My
son.
son. Yeah.
It's important to be a good historian when you go to a doctor, because, and you do get gaslit. So it's like,
Mhm.
and you know, you have to keep records. But I'm like, no, like this, here's a picture. It was taken this date, like
Here's
I
the
was not,
metadata.
I know all of when I'm in the hospital and all the dates because I
Yeah.
document everything. I always, whether it's my cell phone, I don't bring my big camera with me like all the time, but like I always am documenting everything because it's so important to have
Mhm.
um that history and those records. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Historians, documentarians,
mhm,
photojournalism, like
right,
I love that documentary aspect so much. And then being able to kind of interject, we can make it as straightforward as we want, as just like a quick snap. I need to just get this, into
right,
digital format immediately, or we can take our creativity to the next level, and really stage out. Um, because yeah, documentary is like in the moment, but it's also
mhm,
just like an imprint of a moment in time,
right,
however you want to document that. And so
right.
I've loved seeing your self portraits and stuff come up in my timeline. So I'm really glad we got to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking.
Yeah. So you submitted this incredible image to the image competition last year and uh, won the best in delivery
Mhm.
um, for the documentary subcategory. And I just want to show that picture now. You should be able to see that.
Mhm.
And I'd love it if you could kind of walk us through this image and what you were thinking.
I
Um,
will.
yeah.
Definitely. And it's actually kind of fun I get to speak on this because I watched the live judging of this,
Oh,
and
I think that's Birth Photographer of the Year. We don't do the live judging in IPBP.
no, okay, maybe it wasn't then, because that one didn't win Birth Photographer of the Year. It was another one.
Yeah.
I thought, or I thought I watched something on that. It might have been I watched something, but I'm glad I get to speak on this image.
Yes. Let's do it.
Um, so one the one main thing, the reason that I took this image first of all is this baby was a surprise gender for the parents,
Hmm.
which um honestly, where I work nowadays in the hospital, that's not a lot of the oftentimes the case. Well, they wanted to hold the baby up for um the mom and dad. It's a mom and dad here in this picture. He's got his hand on her. They wanted them to be able to see what the baby was. So that's why and those OBs are both good friends of mine. So I was like, "Can you hold the baby up so they could see the baby?" And the nurse is on the left side is a close friend of mine, but she's actually best friends with the patient.
Hmm.
So nobody knew and then the anesthesiologist is also a close friend of all of ours and also did so I took a pullback of that because I wanted it's like, to me, I wanted everybody was looking to see what the baby was.
Hmm.
And so because in some feedback that I'd received from this image before, it was like, well, why didn't you crop? You should have maybe cropped in. And I'm like, but I purposely didn't
Hmm.
crop in. I love that you can see the anesthesiologist on the side. He's putting the post delivery pitocin in. He's smiling through the mask as he's looking on. You can see the
Yeah.
nurse, dad's head looking. Both the doctors are looking at the baby. Everybody's looking at the baby. So I
Hmm.
know, like, it was said the baby's too small, the baby kind of gets lost, but that wasn't to me what I was trying to cat I got close-ups of the baby too, but
Yeah.
in that that wasn't the story that I was trying to tell.
Right.
And one of the most one of the most lovely comments, reviews that I got on this was that it looked like a Norman Rockwell painting.
Hmm.
And So
It's
I
that
really
lighting, man,
loved that
and those colors.
judges had said that, with all the eyes and all the stuff going, like there's so much going around, and then all there it's like, I don't know, it's just like, especially with him like injecting the bag with the Pitocin, and it's just so
Mhm.
funny because like he's still like looking at the baby even though he's doing his job. Everybody was like checking out to see, is the baby,
Yeah.
and she was a little girl, and or is a little girl, and um so that was how that image came to be, and it was purposely done that way to have all eyes on baby. So I
Mm.
wanted a pullback on that.
Yeah.
um
It's fantastic because you have this really beautiful circle that's going on as well, from the
yeah.
anesthetist down to mom, following that
Mhm.
arm up to partner, then the nurse, and then the nurse is looking over at the yeah, and then you just kind of keep going full circle. So um
Yeah.
it's absolutely beautiful, and the blues and the highlight control in that is pretty spectacular. So um did you want to take us through any of your post processing? Because I think you don't use Flash at all.
I don't.
Yeah.
um Now I did just recently have a home birth, and I put up an LED panel like on the side,
Hmm.
because it was really dark. um and I don't use Flash. And it's on I don't necessarily, I mean, it's not that I dislike it, and I just don't tend to use it. And I also, um I know how it can be photographing in the hospital, especially like the OR. And so I try to be, even though they are, I have been doing it there for 11 years, and they are my friends. I try to be as inconspicuous as possible. And I feel like if I start flashing in the doctor's eyes in the middle of surgery, like, for me, I don't
Yeah.
want to be told like, okay, Jess, you can't come back, or
Right.
like that. Um, so I don't, if I do need to add, like, I do have like the Loom Cube, is it the Loom Cube, like the LED panels and stuff that I've
Those are
brought
so
to
good.
her. I'll set up on the, and I've either put it on my hot shoe, or I've even just set it up like by a window so it's like more directional side light.
Yeah.
So I'll use those. Um, I underexpose. I've gotten, I mean, I don't, I don't know. I've gotten pretty good at photographing in the OR. I do a lot of scheduled C sections, a lot of C sections. And honestly, I really love that I get that opportunity, because a lot of uh, parents don't get to see their babies being born when they're having a cesarean section.
Right.
And I love that I can capture that for them. So it's definitely, and it's definitely an honor and a privilege, and it's special to me that those are the parents that, well, it's fleeting for everyone. I mean, I will take even a home birth or a vaginal birth. They'll be like, "Oh, that happened," because it's so fleeting and you
Hmm.
forget. But the parents are not able to see the babies being born, so in the OR behind the drape, and I do. And I stand there and I talk them through the whole thing. I stand there I stand on a stool right above mom's head the whole time, usually. And so I'm like giving them a play by play of what's happening as I'm photographing, and I'm like rubbing mom's head, or talking that, like that kind of thing. And so it's definitely special for me, because it's nerve wracking too, having to have surgery, and especially because now I have had 16 abdominal surgeries. It's
Yeah,
not easy. People forget that a cesarean section is major abdominal surgery.
it
So
is.
it is special that I get to be there for them. I love all my births, but I do photograph a lot of scheduled cesareans. Sorry, my dog.
Yana, no, no, that's okay. Yana Brazil also does, that's all she does.
Yeah.
She's kind of known as like the high risk obstetric birth photographer. So anytime anyone is having a surgery, they get Yana to do it. So
Yeah. So kind of, yeah, I've done a lot of that. And so you know, I've been lucky too, like even ones that where they've been emergent and they've had to be put to sleep, the doctors will allow me to still, I don't photograph the mom like, like intubated, but
Right.
they will photograph the baby and stuff like that, and then I'll follow the baby out.
So
Um
good. That's
but
all they
I've got
want.
pretty good, I think, at the lighting in the
Hmm.
OR. Like I
Hmm.
know my settings and it's always the same in the OR because photograph in the same two ORs, usually
Yeah.
all the time. So and I very much underexpose. You have to for those spotlights.
Yeah.
And when people are like, how do you control the highlights so well? And I definitely underexpose, and then I have to bring things out bring shadows and stuff out in post processing.
Hmm.
Um, so, and there's, some burning and dodging and stuff like that, but definitely I'm an underexposer all the time anyway.
Same.
Yeah,
Chronic. It's
yeah. And
bad.
yeah, I know. I'm the same way, but you have to, like, otherwise you blow out those highlights even with a vaginal delivery in the spotlight. Luckily, when I do even a vaginal birth, most of the OBs know me and I'm like, no spotlight, and they'll turn the spotlight off unless it's truly like dark and they truly can't see,
Yeah.
because for the to come out, they don't really need the light on. It's for suturing if they need to suture if there's a tear after. I'm like,
Right.
no spotlight till the baby's out.
Right.
um
I got into I'm saying this sarcastically. It was a midwife that I knew quite well, but I got into like a spotlight match with one of the midwives because um I had moved it up against, so it was on the white wall so it would reflect just a little bit.
yeah.
And then she would like move it away and I was like, and then she'd
Uh-huh.
move it away and I'd keep moving it
Yeah,
back because I didn't want like the direct light. I just
right.
wanted the diffuse light off of the wall. But yeah,
Yeah.
um, yeah,
No, yeah.
no.
There's a couple. There's like one specific one that is one of my, like, was done a couple years ago, that is literally like full on spotlight crowning shot, but I edit it in a way um where literally everything else around it was so dark because I had to have it so underexposed that you could
Mhm.
just see the hand of the physician like cradling the top of the head crowning, but everything else is dark.
Yeah,
So like it was pretty dark. So but most of the time I try to get them not to use a spotlight if I can. But the OR
yeah.
you have to,
Mm.
obviously.
I don't think I've ever I mean the OR is so bright. I can understand wanting to like use a flash to overpower the overhead lighting, but I've never used a flash in
I
OR.
wouldn't either, but I know that some people, like you said, I've heard people say to use the flat for that reason. I
Yeah,
can't ever find a reason that I would want to use a flash in the
me either.
OR. Personally, I don't I don't use it anywhere. Usually.
Yeah.
So
I'll use it on the vaginal birth where I'm
yeah,
trying to overpower the spotlight.
the spotlight. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I probably should, try to do that at some point. Like it's I don't have a problem with flash at all, and I honestly just never really got comfortable with it.
Mhm.
And I guess because I live in sunny Florida, so most of my sessions are out in the beautiful sun, or where I don't really need a flash, and then I am in the OR. And
Yeah.
so, and I do my own self portraits. I usually tend to be dark and moody. So
Mhm.
I just never really became super proficient at it. So I just I haven't done it. And like I said, when I went to my last home birth, I just set up the LED panels, and then we had twinkle, it was twinkle, all the beautiful twinkle lights and
Yeah.
everything.
There's so
Yeah.
many people that don't use Flash at all.
I
Um,
think, yeah, she doesn't, Jacinta? Jacinta.
yeah,
Wait,
Jacinta, I'm not sure.
I
We'll have,
don't use Flash either.
no, I don't think so. Well, I'll have to ask her and probe her in the group.
I know. I say, if you're watching this, I'm pretty sure she's a no flasher too.
Yeah.
I can't remember that. I do know that there's a few birth photographers that
Mhm.
don't use flash.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
and I
it's all
don't have
just a personal preference and it can really, determine how your style comes out and allow you that little bit more granular control of your style as
right.
well, which is great.
I do tend, and I think because I don't use flash, obviously like my work does tend to be a little bit like darker, moodier, grainier, filmier vibe
Hmm.
somewhat. And but that's kind of become like kind of how I've just done it. So
Yeah.
now, like, I don't want to change my style because that's how I've been doing it. I mean, I always want to push myself and get better.
Hmm.
Um, so, and I've thought about getting, some of the like the pro photo lights and stuff like that. Not that I would take that to a birth, but like for other projects. But it's so daunting, and I'm like, that's too much work.
I know. I know. Says me with my massive light up here. Like trying to light it and your Rembrandt lighting and get the backlight. It's
I,
it's
I
wild.
I'm sitting here with my phone. This is why I was like, how do I hold my phone? Because this is bothering me. But
The
sorry,
shadow.
I'm hiding my room from the family. So
Yeah, no, no, that's great. So post image competition,
yeah.
um, how did that affect like having that award won? How did that affect anything for you?
Um, let's see. Well, I don't know. I don't know if I'm a lot like if it's okay. I won the year before as for I won first place for postpartum. And so I think that affected me more last year because
Yeah,
then I was so I won first place. It was a twins breastfeeding in the recovery room for last year, the year before last.
we just have
And so
about 10 minutes left. Sorry.
I'm sorry. So for both of them, yeah, I mean, obviously the images were published everywhere. I mean, so and then I did have the local newspapers wrote articles on me after I won those awards.
Hmm.
Um, I
That's
don't
the
know if
best.
I told you that or I was
Mm-mm.
interviewed by the Bradenton Herald, which is the our local newspaper. Um and it was like, former labor and delivery nurse wins international, birth photography award. And so they wrote about me both times after I won. And I actually just won Bradenton's but number one photographer for Bradenton this year too. So I don't,
Amazing.
but it was through Bradenton Herald, so people voted for me. So it probably all goes back to full
Yeah.
circle. Like all these opportunities have have opened up. I definitely I just saw submissions start January 15th already.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
Gearing up.
definitely think it's all come full circle. I mean, I've had the articles written and then I won Bradenton of the Year photographer, because of probably those awards and the people seeing my work in the
Work.
newspaper. And
Yeah.
so yeah, it's definitely been good. And I've gotten lots of work. I've gotten more work through social media too, where it used to be more everything was word of mouth through the hospital and the OBs.
Hmm.
Now I'm getting reached through a lot of Instagram. I'll get messages, and I give clients reaching out to me through social media now, finding me.
Yeah.
So
That's so amazing.
it's
And I,
been it yeah, it has. That's what I say. It's been amazing. It's a wonderful competition, and I really think that it kind of puts us birth photographers on the map a little bit. Like, you
yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it really it shows that we're not just, we know what we're doing. We're professionals. This is part of the birth, you know, team. This
Yeah.
is a real genre. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I mean, goodness, we're honing in close on 15 years of hosting,
I know
the image competition. And it's absolutely incredible to see, how long standing and how far it's come and where it's going. And
it's
um,
grown for sure.
yeah,
And that's bigger.
absolutely.
And every year, I think, because even last year it was like more, every year it's more and more submissions, right?
hmm It is.
So
Yeah. Which is, slots right in with the motto of sharing the beauty and birth with the world. Um,
absolutely.
and so, yeah, I'm so glad that we got to sit down and chat,
You
um, and, about your images and your self-portrait and advocacy. Um, before we close out, if you had one tip to offer someone who's on the fence about submitting, what would you tell them?
just go for it. Honestly, I mean, um, you're your own worst critic. And I mean, I never, number one, the 1 year I won twice, 2 years. Never in a million years did I think I was going to win. And then never in a million years did I think I would win for a different category in another year.
Hmm
And, um, and I always self doubt. I mean, the images are insanely incredible every year, but now, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, like one of mine's part of it. One of mine must have been insanely incredible. Like that's such an honor.
Yeah,
um but like, you just have to go for it. Like, and I just say do it. You're never gonna know until you just have to get brave and put yourself out there. And if you don't, I mean, get something, you just continue to strive for it the next year, or
yeah,
um I definitely think it's been quite an honor. I have my pictures and my certificates and everything hanging up on the wall in my office of those two images from the IAB CBP.
IAPBP.
So
Yeah,
yeah.
it's a mouthful.
I
Take
know.
your
I
practice.
I always have to say the whole thing out loud because when I try to say the numbers, I always mix them up.
Yeah, yeah, same. No, that's amazing. Thank you so much,
Thank you so much
Jessica.
for asking me. It's such an honor, and I love talking to you. And I feel like we just
Thank
did
you.
this with Birth Photographer of the Year.
We did.
Chat. So, um, so
Yeah,
yeah, I just think all this stuff that's being created for birth photographers is just incredible and so very much needed. So, and
yeah, I
it's,
agree.
all the work you do is just tireless and amazing and incredible, and so grateful for everything you do. So
Thank you. Thank you
you're
so
welcome.
much. Oh.